For those who are not familiar, at the SIF, our programs try to address social impact by connecting communities and really enabling conversations and collaboration to take place for positive social change. Our programs necessarily feature cross-cultural learnings and international understanding through the exchange of ideas, skills, and experiences. As for the links with PwC, we're quite honored that in our Board of Governors, we have a PwC partner, Mr. Lian Wee Chow, who served us since 2011 actually, so quite a long-standing member of our board. And more recently, we've been very happy to connect with the PwC Sustainability Unit to look into an impact study for our Young Social Entrepreneurs program that has been running over the last 10 years. In this study, what we're looking to do is really to understand and get an objective and impartial measure of the programmatic outcomes achieved over the last 10 years. We also want to understand better what parts of our YSE program have been most effective in enabling enterprise growth, and moving forward, we plan to use the findings and the analysis gleaned from this program to further shape our program into a more effective vehicle in terms of leveraging resources to stimulate the growth of the social enterprise ecosystem in Singapore and the region. So here's a snapshot of some of the social enterprises that have come through our program. As you can see, they're doing some remarkable work in different countries and in various sectors, ranging from agriculture, education and training for underserved youth, sustainable tourism, and clean water. And the impact that they have had on communities is also apparent. What we are trying to do in the impact study with PwC is to really understand how our YSE program might have facilitated the achievement of some of these social outcomes. So we understand that not everything is attributable, of course, to the YSE program. That's why it's important for us to get an objective and neutral measure.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that. And so just if you could share a little bit with us about how you at SIF engage with corporates in this, in general, and also in the YSE program to have more impact.
Okay. So taking the YSE program as an example, there are three main ways in which we engage corporate partners. First, it's in the realm of capacity building. So our program runs a couple of workshops throughout the year. One big one is in Singapore, and we have workshops that are run in overseas markets. Like this year we went to Bangalore, India, and also Shanghai, China. And in these workshops we do look to corporates to provide pro bono speakers or facilitators for topics such as financial modeling, marketing and communications, team and resource management, and the like. Secondly, we have mentorship, and here some may know it as skills-based volunteering. And we have a partnership with Temasek International, which we are very grateful, where Temasek staff are pulled together as mentors, and they are matched to individual social enterprises to help guide them along in refining their business models and their financial plans. And actually, linked back to PwC, we're very happy to engage PwC China through our collaboration to provide speakers for our recent Shanghai workshop, and also to provide business clinic mentors. So in the mentorship scheme, we have two approaches. One is a longer-term 6-month mentorship, where each mentor would be expected to spend around 2 hours per month in communication with the social enterprises. But for corporates that may not want to dedicate this amount of time or resources, we also have shorter engagements, which are through business clinics that are conducted within the workshop program itself. This is where we get mentors to come in for 2 hours over one evening and to work one-on-one with the teams on their enterprise models and business pitches. And the last way, not the least, definitely, is sponsorship for social enterprises. So through our program, right at the end here, we have this event called Pitching for Change. So this is where, out of this current cohort, 6 outstanding social enterprise teams will win up to 20,000 Singapore dollars each to launch or scale up their enterprise ideas. And this is fully funded by corporate sponsors, so we're very grateful for that. And in fact, the teams have fed back also that this has been really helpful in terms of giving them the space to try out ideas and to reach out also to other partners. So our corporate partnership journey has taken quite a few years to form, and we are very grateful actually to have been able to gather both financial and non-financial resources that help us extend our impact in terms of inspiring and equipping these social enterprises. Over the last few years, especially, we've really been able to gather diversity in terms of the types of resources that have come in to help enrich our program offerings. So in particular, Temasek International, this partnership that we have, we are very, very grateful to Sid. We're pleased to say that we have had a good number of Temasek staff come on board to mentor the social enterprises over the years. And we often hear from program participants that mentorship is one of the most valuable components of the program. So it's not just the financial means to sustain the enterprises, but also this mentorship and guidance and advice that they've gotten from business professionals from Temasek has really helped them on their journey. So we're hoping to validate this aspect through the impact study with PwC and also look to communicate that to Temasek as well.
Okay, great, thank you. And so as everyone can see, I think it's, corporate partnerships are really fundamental to you being able to run this program and as you say, bring in so many different inputs in terms of the skills, the time, and the financial contributions that really allow these kind of social enterprises to bloom. So then it would be great to hear from Sid about the perspective in terms of, from a corporate perspective, but first of all, personally, sort of what drew you, how did you get involved with SIF?
So first of all, really happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And congratulations, Rebecca, on pronouncing my last name. She told me that was the hardest thing she had to do all week. So going back in time, 2014 was the first time I heard about SIF, and I heard about the Young Social Entrepreneurship Program. I was a management consultant at McKinsey, and we just got an internal email that said, do you want to make a difference to the community while doing good, while leveraging your skill sets? And for me, it was a no-brainer. Picking up some of the lovely points raised in the previous session, what is the asset of a company, right? As a consultant, it was definitely the people. Two, frankly, growing up as well, I wanted to do good, and frankly, that's an intrinsic motivation. The very fact that you're sitting here in this room means you're intrinsically motivated, right? I think one of our challenges is how do we get more people into this room? But that aside, if you are intrinsically motivated to do well, I was never a big fan of these sort of one-off shows of appreciation and affection. Going to an island and painting a wall, or I think we can all do that. But I was looking for something where I could form a deeper connection, something that was more long-lasting and something that I could feel like I was part of a journey. What I really liked about this program to this day, and it's been 5 or 6 years since then I've been continuing to be involved with it, is that there's a great structure to this, just to reiterate some of the highlights, right? Think of this as really a Dragon's Den business model type pitching for young social enterprises. So SIF, what they didn't tell you is they get a fantastic funnel. How many companies did you get last year, or enterprises who wanted to be part of it?
Hundreds, actually, hundreds of applications.
And they shortlist 65 who pitch, and from that 65, only 16 get selected to be part of this program. So back when I was involved in McKinsey, all 16 were mentored by McKinsey. And I happened to switch jobs in 2015, joined Temasek. Obviously, I think we all know that Temasek has a very important duty as well as an interest in serving the community. But then again, frankly, I think almost all the programs that I saw offered to employees or those who were volunteering were sort of one-off things. And that's when I sort of broached the idea of approaching SIF and approaching Temasek concurrently to make this a structured program Initially, people internally, frankly, set my expectations very low. They said, usually you're not going to get people to volunteer at scale. And I'm sharing this because it tells you what an unmet demand there is. So it's been 4 years on. We have a much smaller staff than PwC. It was amazing to see the numbers. Probably have only about 300, 400 staff in Singapore. And in year 4, we've had 80 employees sign up. So, it's as a percentage of total employee base that's quite high. The way we work is we've actually had to, we can only have 8 companies a year assigned to Temasek. So we have about 2 to 3 mentors per company. So I'm just the face, but it's been a great, for very recent years, it's been a great team effort. So every year we have about 20 to 24 Temasek employees mentored through a life cycle of about 7 to 8 months. So sorry, long-winded answer, a lot to cover, but what motivated me was, first of all, the problems that these young enterprises are solving are truly path-breaking. It's actually inspired me and is motivating me. I think I learn from them, hopefully, as much as they're learning from me. 2 is the fact that, you hopefully were contributing to a sustainable solution. So these enterprises are not not-for-profits, they're meant to be for-profit, they're meant to be sustainable. So whole reason they're in here. And 3rd is just a great way to sort of do good, matching my day-to-day job. So just to be clear, so I'm an investments professional, that's my day job. And as part of being an investments professional, I all the time meet new companies who are looking to raise capital. So fundamental tenets of that is evaluating business models, helping businesses grow once you invest in them. So I think all of that coming together, and personally we all know that the early stage ecosystem in Singapore and Southeast Asia is already underpenetrated. I'm not even talking about social enterprises. In general, we are at early stages of venture capital becoming, reaching scale in Singapore. And so young social enterprises is even further along the journey, right? There's very few platforms of scale where these enterprises have a chance to gain skills, have a shot at surviving and being sustainable. And that's where I think the SIF has done a fantastic job, and that's why we've been affiliated with them.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for sharing some of your personal motivations and sort of what you're getting out of it. But and it's very clear from the social enterprises point of view, or from Singapore International Foundation's point of view, what the relationship, what they're benefiting from the relationship. But just could you speak a bit about what I guess formerly McKinsey, but now Temasek International, what as an organization, how they benefit from this?
Yeah, so, and I think frankly, whatever I'm going to say, there's probably a lot more to do, and I think that's why in different organizations in the room here, there are people from a lot of different industries. I think the answer will really vary. I think first things first, we have a lot of different skill sets within the organization. Now, I'm from the investments team, but there are people from portfolio management, people from risk, people from legal, people from HR. And again, one of the points raised in the earlier session is we've opened this up to everybody. So we do not sort of restrict applications. Every business unit, anybody, any level is able to apply. And we've had people from very senior most management to entry-level employees being part of this. Second is we've also opened this up to all our regional offices. So this is a regional program. We have entries in here from China, from India, sometimes even from outside Asia. And we've had interesting take-up even from our, what I call satellite offices outside Singapore. So at this stage, frankly, the involvement has been more around just the pure skills-based volunteering aspect of it. What's interesting is people end up volunteering for industry sectors and problems that might have professional relevance to them. So specifically, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of business models that I've seen over the years, really innovative ones, tackling sort of agri, tackling sort of food, health, nutrition. Now, these are also areas that are investment focuses for us going forward. So I think that there's a synergy whereby people are intrinsically motivated. Some of the learnings they take from working with these companies can then be brought to inform their own views on where to focus on from an investing perspective. But I would humbly say that I think we're very early days of it. We can do a lot more, and I think as more and more corporates in this part of the world become more aware, I think that there's more roles to be more targeted. So for example, if I am a consumer goods manufacturer, I might want to be involved in a very specific way in a program like this that has direct benefit to me.
Okay, great, thank you. So, again, just to sort of round up, what advice would, for both of you, same question, you can pick the order. What advice would you give to both charitable organizations as well as corporates when they're trying to look to find that match and build this type of long-term, sort of really meaningful, deep relationship that you guys obviously have benefited from? What would be the first steps if you're trying to find that match?
I think for long-term and strategic partnerships, they really have to be built on the bedrock of a win-win condition, right? I think both sides have to see an alignment in terms of the objectives and the goals of the partnership, but more importantly, you also have to be aligned in terms of your values and your approach towards the problem that you're trying to solve together, you know? And I think in all this, communication is key, a little bit like marriage, you know? Sometimes interests shift, sometimes conditions change, and in the midst of all those variances, how do you navigate that together, you know, with a proper communication? I think that will be really paramount to determining whether this is a lasting union or not. And of course, I think that some organizations do fall into a bit of a trap because we forget that partnerships also require management. So if there is an uncomfortable alliance, you know, then you are really distracting resources to managing that partnership rather than focusing on the goal that you want to achieve and working together to get there. So I would highly recommend actually that before launching into a long-term agreement, to have a bit of a trial period. You know, again, taking like the marriage analogy, you know, to have an engagement or a dating period where you try and suss each other out, you know, and try and find out whether your values match, you know, try and look behind the facade to see if there's there's a corporate culture or certain corporate value that can support your work. I think that's quite important before you go into a long-term endeavor.
I think from my perspective, just from the corporate's perspective, one thing that's very important is that environment within the corporate of empowering people and giving them the space and the room to bring new ideas to the table. So frankly, you might or might not be surprised to hear this, like there was no sort of top-down target. This is all completely volunteer on my end and all the employees who've been involved. And you know, the environment was set up institutionally for me to actually take this idea to, we have a subcommittee that sort of oversees all volunteer activity. And what I had to do, I'm just sharing this, I can give you a real life example of what actually happened, is SIF had to come in a few times, I think, and present to a committee of Temasek people. And what were people really looking for, right? I think people were looking for transparency of outcome, you know, a little bit about, in this case, it was not so much about money. There was no money involved, actually. It was about, okay, we're going to attach our logo to this initiative. What are people actually going to be doing, and what are the measurable outcomes? Again, I heard that in the last presentation. Second is people are actually quite focused on how sort of SIF monitors these enterprises on an ongoing basis, and not just, again, a one-off thing. And then third, what was important to the corporate us in this case was it must be inclusive. Like you don't want something that, you know, one team is using just one of their expertise. Well, that's not really something that the firm wants to stand behind. Maybe it's you know, people might want to do it on their own. That's fine. But I think to get the institution to stand behind it was important that everybody has a role to play and everybody can add value. And I mean, I think that what really sealed the deal in this case was organization at their end, how structured they were, very clear milestones, and that just gave people comfort.
Great, thank you. And now we'll open up to the floor. If any of you have any questions about either the programs or their specific inputs, or in general about this, what type of things you could bring to a charity. Don't be shy. Maybe a question to the room. Is there anyone here who's kind of in the process of either looking to set up a foundation? Are you here to try and find one of these long-term partnerships? Is there anything that anyone in the room wants to share in terms of their journey?
I think I sense a question here. No?
Well, you picked a social enterprise to ask the question. Well, actually, I just wanted to, at the very beginning, you said that there's all of us here that's in this room, and it's your ambition to see it double, and that, in effect, is an impact statement that's an end game. So if you were to put effort into it, how would we see more social entrepreneurs emerging, especially in Singapore? That I'd like to hear from both of you. What could be done to nurture?
I think the first thing is you should join the SIF program for next year.
Good one.
Look, so a couple of things, right? One is, only half joking. I think maybe you should definitely engage with SIF. By the way, I don't think you mentioned this, but you've been at this for 9 years now? 10, and this next is going to be 10th year. So that enterprise that I mentored in 2014 was Society Staples. You might or might not have heard of them. They ended up getting the President's Medal. Today they've pivoted. I believe they're a self-sustaining organization that's actually scaled. They do a lot of sort of team building activities for corporates with an angle towards people with disabilities. So what the original idea was to create Singapore's first gymnasium, which is what got me excited because it was so unique and different, and unfortunately practical challenges to getting it there, but Singapore's first gymnasium for people with disabilities. So we all think that only healthy people or all of us need exercise, but actually people with disabilities have no forum to actually exercise in. I have an uncle who's schizophrenic, and if he were to go exercise, there's no place. What can we do? I think one is that, so we're in early days, right? I think you need an ecosystem of awareness. I think you need more events like this. You need the funding side to be sorted. But I think we also need a level of pragmatism on the business models. And we need more founders to think about how will they make money, if I be blunt. So give an example, like one of the biggest roles I play as part of the mentorship is people have very good ideas and a vision of doing good, but they have not yet thought deep enough about how they're going to scale it. How are they actually, is there a willingness for the target segment to pay for that product, to pay for a good? If you are able to crack that, which is the economics of it, I have no doubt that you will be able to, today in 2019 and going forward, be able to attract enough funding, enough awareness for it to scale. But I think the roadblocks are also finding good talent, finding good people to work for you. I think these are the challenges that all startups also face. I will say that there are now a bunch of programs in Singapore that help incubate social enterprises. SIF is not the only one. I think they were the early mover, but there's more of them. So I would encourage you to tap into that ecosystem more.
I agree fully with you. In fact, I think that in Singapore, we have a lot of room to grow, and awareness is key. Because for social enterprises, what they offer is also a social outcome. And sometimes the products may or may not be as competitive as others in the market. But I would appeal to corporates and individuals to look out for these things, social enterprises. There are various kinds, the ones that deal with environment, the ones that deal with waste management, apps for the elderly, for example, opportunities of access for persons with disability. They are all over, but I think that maybe there's not enough of that profiling so that the larger consumer market can tap into that. And some of them deliberately do not want to put themselves out as a social enterprise because they want to run it like a business and have profits based on the merit and credibility of their products. But I think sometimes in Singapore, as we try to promote giving, try to promote doing good, I think it's contingent on everyone to try and look out for these products and support social enterprises in general. And Sid is right, there are a lot of programs right now, and I think RAISE is also doing some good work in terms of supporting the growth of the ecosystem. But at the SIF, we were the early movers because we saw the opportunity and also the potential of harnessing business solutions for social problems. So I'm hoping that this message gets heard, more awareness in the media, more events such as this, so that more people, corporates and individuals, can come on board to support the growth of the system.
And I'll just say one quick thing, which is to maybe motivate you. It's not just a buzzword. I can tell you, I'm living and breathing the fact that today, and I really like the fact that we began with that as the first thing. For years in finance textbooks, you were taught that the role of a corporation is to maximize shareholder value. And I think there's a genuine debate today at corporates going forward as to whether there should be that second goal of sustainability added to the charter of a company. The other thing I'll just say from my own personal view of having lived in different geographies in the world is one of the benefits of the way Singapore is structured currently is there is generally a concentration in the corporate space, right? Whether you look at banking, oil and gas, or whatever, there are a few corporates that have lion's share of the market. If you are able to penetrate them and get them as partners to endorse you, it can go a long way. So I don't want to go into detail, but that one of the companies I was talking about that's done well, that's what they were able to do, which is they were able to get one of their corporates to sort of really showcase them. And then there was a ripple effect.
Yeah, great. I mean, just from PwC perspective, it's also something that we do. It's not always, large donations of cash. It's also, as I think Leonard was saying earlier, it's every decision you make. So whether it's a procurement decision, like, we have our caterers today, or a social enterprise, just the little things you do and decisions of everyday decisions of who you're partnering with and who you're giving a voice to. As a large corporate, you also have a lot of power in terms of your brand. And even if that's, it might seem like that's all you're giving, but actually, as you've said, a partnership with a large corporate can go a very long way for a charity or a social enterprise or whatever it is. Yeah. So is there another question? Anyone? Or I think Charlotte wanted to wave.
I was just thinking, while you're addressing the social enterprises, maybe coming from corporate, to me, as well as an individual, it's very important to have that mindset change. Right? Because oftentimes when we make a donation, let's say if you go to a social enterprise and they say, well, we take 10%. And then you go, what? I want 100% to go to the beneficiaries. Why are you taking 10%? Right? And then some people might just walk away. Right? We need to have that mindset change because these are the folks who actually, dedicate their life, to help the beneficiaries. And if we are not helping them, who's going to help them? Right, so oftentimes corporates forget they want 100% of the donation to go to the charities, right? But they often forget the caretakers, the intermediaries, and which is why in PwC we also come up with programs and we also support the NGOs as well as the social enterprises because to us those are very important people in the society. It's not about dollars and cents. It's about people willing to step forward and doing good for the society. We should help them. Right? So to me, this whole mindset change is very important.
Thanks. I think that's a great note to wrap up on. And yeah, so I'll hand over quickly. Can we have a big thank you for our two panelists?